Hello everyone, and welcome to UFO Evidence. Today we're blasting off to explore one of the most compelling topics in ufology. Sightings reported not by people on the ground, but by the very individuals who have ventured into the final frontier. Astronauts. These are highly trained pilots, scientists, and engineers, individuals whose careers depend on precise observation and reporting. So when they describe something they can't explain, the world takes notice. Are these just misidentified space junk or atmospheric phenomena, or could they be evidence of something more? We'll journey through declassified reports, personal testimonies, and mission transcripts from the pioneers of space travel. Let's separate fact from fiction and see what these space explorers have really witnessed out there in the vast, silent darkness. Let's start with one of the most famous names in space history, Gordon Cooper. An original Mercury 7 astronaut, Cooper was a decorated Air Force pilot long before he joined NASA. His encounters with unexplained aerial phenomena began even before his space flights. In the early 1950s, while flying over West Germany, he and his fellow pilots witnessed formations of metallic, saucer-shaped objects flying at incredible speeds and altitudes, far beyond the capabilities of any known aircraft at the time. He reported this officially, but the story doesn't end there. Years later, in 1957, while stationed at Edwards Air Force Base, a camera crew he was managing filmed a classic flying saucer. It was a silent, silvery disc that landed on a dry lake bed, extended 3 landing legs, and then took off vertically at a tremendous speed. Cooper himself didn't see the landing, but he saw the film. He ordered the footage to be developed and sent to Washington. Despite his high-ranking position, he never heard about it again. The film and the official report simply vanished. But Cooper's most intriguing report comes from his final space mission. During his 22-orbit flight on Mercury Atlas 9 in 1963, he reported seeing a greenish object with a red tail approaching his capsule. The object was tracked by the Moochia tracking station in Australia, which meant it wasn't just a subjective illusion. Cooper was a firm believer that we are not alone. He testified before the United Nations, stating, "I believe that these extraterrestrial vehicles and their crews are visiting this planet from other planets, which are a little more technically advanced than we are here on Earth." Coming from a man of his stature, these words carry immense weight. Next, let's talk about the man who walked on the moon, Buzz Aldrin. While the Apollo 11 mission is celebrated for its historic moon landing, there was another, lesser-known event that occurred during their journey. On the way to the moon, the crew, including Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and Michael Collins, noticed an object flying alongside their spacecraft. They initially thought it might be the detached SVIB rocket stage, but NASA confirmed it was over 6,000 miles away. Aldrin described it as an L-shaped object. They observed it through a telescope for some time before deciding not to report it to mission control, fearing public panic and the potential cancellation of their lunar landing. Aldrin has spoken about this incident several times over the years, carefully choosing his words but always maintaining that they saw something they could not identify. What could it have been? A piece of their own spacecraft? A secret satellite? Or was it something else entirely, observing humanity's first steps toward another world? The mysteries continued with later Apollo missions. Al Worden, the command module pilot for Apollo 15, was a man who spent 3 days orbiting the moon alone, while his crewmates explored the surface. He's been very candid in interviews about his beliefs. He states that he saw things during his solo flight that were unexplained and unidentified. He speaks of humanity's ancient origins, suggesting we are descendants of an alien race. While he doesn't claim to have seen an alien spacecraft up close, he is convinced that extraterrestrial life is a reality, and that governments have been concealing this information for decades. His perspective is unique, shaped by the profound experience of being utterly alone in deep space, looking back at our tiny blue planet. Let's not forget the Russian cosmonauts. They too have had their share of strange encounters. Major General Vladimir Kovalyonok, during his time on the Salyut 6 space station in 1981, observed an object that he described as elliptical, flying parallel to the station. He said it would suddenly perform a maneuver that looked like a dumbbell, as if it split into two interconnected spheres before disappearing. He called his crewmate, Viktor Savinik, to the porthole, who confirmed the sighting. They reported it to ground control, but the event remains unexplained. Kovalyonok later said, "I don't know what it was, but it was not a fantasy. It's no secret that many cosmonauts have seen phenomena that are beyond the experience of Earthmen." Another compelling case comes from Colonel General Pavel Popovich, a celebrated Soviet hero. In 1978, while on a civilian flight from Washington to Moscow, he and his fellow passengers and crew witnessed a bright triangular object flying alongside their plane. It was perfectly equilateral and pulsed with light. He estimated it was about 1.5 kilometers away and flying at the same speed as their jet, approximately 600 miles per hour. He stressed that its behavior was not like any known aircraft. He, like Gordon Cooper, became a vocal advocate for serious UFO research, even serving as the president of the Russian UFO Association. Even NASA's own employees have come forward. Dr. Story Musgrave, a NASA astronaut who flew on 6 space shuttle missions, has described seeing what he calls an eel-like object in orbit on 2 separate flights. He described it as a white, snake-like form moving through space. While he is open to the possibility of it being a piece of space debris, like a lost rocket hose, he admits its shape and movement were unlike anything he had ever seen before. He's a man with over 1,200 hours in space, a surgeon, a pilot, and a scientist. His inability to definitively identify this object speaks volumes. And what about the most recent generation of astronauts? Dr. Leroy Chiao, a former NASA astronaut and commander of the International Space Station, had his own puzzling experience. In 2005, while on a spacewalk, he saw a formation of 5 lights in a chevron pattern fly past the station. He was performing maintenance on an antenna, and the lights zipped by at a very high speed. His Russian crewmate, Salizhan Sharipov, didn't see them. Chiao has considered a mundane explanation, suggesting they could have been a string of bright lights from a fishing boat on Earth thousands of miles below. However, he remains uncertain, stating the speed and formation were very strange. So what does all this mean? We have a growing list of credible witnesses, astronauts and cosmonauts, who have reported seeing things in space that defy conventional explanation. These aren't just blurry photos from the ground. These are first-hand accounts from the most qualified observers we have. Critics often dismiss these sightings as misidentified ice crystals, space debris, satellites, or even the psychological effects of being in space. And certainly some cases might be explained this way, but can all of them? When multiple trained observers, sometimes backed by radar data, report structured craft performing intelligent maneuvers, it becomes much harder to dismiss. The consistent pattern of official silence or lost evidence following these reports is also deeply troubling. These space heroes have broken the code of silence, risking ridicule and their professional reputations to tell the world what they saw. Their bravery in space is matched only by their bravery in speaking out. The evidence they provide compels us to ask bigger questions, to look up at the stars, and to wonder. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of UFO sightings by astronauts. The truth is out there, and maybe, just maybe, the people who have been closest to it have already shared a piece of it with us. What do you think about these incredible testimonies? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to UFO Evidence for more deep dives into the unknown. We'll see you on the next mission.